Salutations. Today's briefing, China military power, forces and locations. The Pentagon recently released the latest edition of its annual report to Congress on military and security developments involving the People's Republic of China, 2022. These reports are also known as China military power. This report is a good catalyst for an assessment of where the PLA is at in terms of capability. How effective might the PLA be in high-end conflict? How much have recent developments enhanced PLA capabilities? Is older PLA equipment still capable in the modern battle space? This briefing is the first in a series covering major points of China's military power and will examine the PLA's major formations and their locations, covering in order Navy, Ground Force and Air Forces. Subsequent briefings will examine China's nuclear posture and approach to warfare. At some stage during the briefing, please hit the like button. It really helps with the YouTube algorithm. Also, subscribers can make suggestions for future briefings. So, PLA force structure, equipment and dispositions. Many will be familiar with the PLA theatre commands created during the 2016 reforms when 7 military regions became 5 theatre commands. Starting with the Northern Theatre Command, headquartered in Shenyang, with a focus on the Korean Peninsula, but also Japan. The Eastern Theatre Command, headquartered in Nanjing, with a focus on Taiwan, but also Japan. The Southern Theatre Command, headquartered in Guangzhou, with a focus on the South China Sea and Taiwan. Western Theatre Command, focus on India, with headquarters in Chengdu. And the Central Theatre Command, headquartered in Beijing, which protects the capital and supports the other theatre commands. Note, a theatre command will command most, but not necessarily all, of the units in its territory. As mentioned, Southern Theatre Command is responsible for the South China Sea, the most likely flashpoint of which are the Spratly Islands. This image shows the various claim lines and facilities in the Spratly Islands. The PRC and ROC claim essentially the same area, with Vietnam and the Philippines also claiming large areas. Note, all 7 PRC facilities are in the area claimed by Vietnam or Philippines, and none are in the area within the Malaysian or Bruneian claim lines. Now, not all theatre commands have a naval component, obviously not Western Theatre Command, but also not the Central Theatre Command, resulting in 3 theatre command fleets. These fleets have a coastal defence role as well as blue water missions. So the Northern Fleet, headquartered in Qingdao, 1 aircraft carrier, 16 destroyers, 11 frigates, supported by 4 AORs, underway replenishment ships, so refueling and logistics support ships, 11 corvettes, none of the large amphibious ships, none of the Type 075 LHDs or Type 071 landing ship docks, and only 2 of the landing ship tank and landing ship mediums. But it does have 5 SSNs. The Eastern Theatre Fleet, headquartered in Ningbo, has no aircraft carriers, 15 destroyers, including the 4 Sovereignty class, which provide the best naval gunfire support of any of the Chinese destroyers, 15 frigates, 3 replenishment ships, 19 corvettes, 2 Type 075 LHDs, 3 Type 071 landing ship docks, and 20 of the Type 072, 073 landing ship tanks, landing ship mediums, but no nuclear-powered submarines. The Southern Theatre Fleet, headquartered in Zhanjiang, 1 aircraft carrier, 17 destroyers, 13 frigates, 5 replenishment ships, 19 corvettes, 1 of the Type 075 LHDs, 5 of the 071 landing ship docks, and 19 other large amphibious assault ships. It also has 4 SSNs. To summarise, the Northern and Southern fleets have aircraft carriers and SSNs, while the Eastern and Southern fleets have essentially all the large amphibious vessels and more corvettes. I will cover the Marine Corps formations, which are part of the Navy, later. The China Military Power Report highlights the strength of the PLAN, in particular that it is larger than the US Navy. Now, this is true in gross terms, noting the PLAN has a significant coastal defence role, which the US Navy doesn't. Now, a comparison of raw numbers is rarely useful when looking at hypotheticals, but it is interesting to compare blue water vessels of the US Navy and PLAN. US Navy, of course, having 11 aircraft carriers, one of which is always in midlife refueling, so effectively 10, while China has 2 and soon to be 3. The US Navy is phasing out its cruisers and soon will only have one class of destroyers, albeit with 4 flights, whereas the PLAN will continue to operate many different classes of destroyers as it builds new classes, in particular the Type 055, which is designed for high-end warfighting, and at the same time making upgrades to its older vessels. There are currently no frigates in the US Navy, but that's soon to be addressed with the introduction of the Constellation class, whereas the PLAN has invested heavily in the Type 054As. As with the carriers, the US Navy has far more SSNs than the PLAN. Even with a likely significant increase in PLAN SSN numbers in the coming years due to significant enhancement of production facilities, this imbalance is likely to remain. The PLAN has, however, maintained a significant commitment to increasing its SSK capability with new boats. Apart from the introduction of theatre commands, the 2016 reforms impacted the ground force most. With the reforms, the ground force is primarily focused around group armies, essentially the equivalent of a NATO corps, but now consisting of independent combined arms brigades rather than divisional formations. Each group army comprises 6 combined arms combat brigades with any mix of heavy, medium, light or ground force amphibious brigades, and 6 independent support brigades: artillery, air defence, special forces, aviation, combat support including engineers, and service support including logistics. These brigades are comprised of both new equipment, notably artillery systems, and upgraded older systems. See the individual briefings on the PLA's combined arms battalions, rockets and guns and sand systems linked below. There are 13 group armies, which represent the primary large manoeuvre formations of the ground force, with the group army commander selecting the appropriate force mix from within the 12 brigades under his command. The group armies are allocated as follows: Northern Theatre Command, 3, Eastern Theatre Command, 3, Southern Theatre Command, 2, Western Theatre Command, 2, and Central Theatre Command, 3. In total, 78 combined arms combat brigades, each with up to 5,000 troops. Note, there are also around 6 divisions worth of formations outside of these units that are under direct CMC command. Note, critical support formations that will be covered in a subsequent brief include the Joint Logistics Support Force and Strategic Support Force. 6 of these 78 combined arms brigades are the ground forces amphibious brigades. These are part of selected group armies. In the Eastern Theatre Command, there are 2 amphibious brigades in the 72nd Group Army and 2 in the 73rd Group Army. In the Southern Theatre Command, there are 2 amphibious brigades in the 74th Group Army. See the briefing on the ground force amphibious battalions linked below. Augmenting the ground force amphibious combined arms brigades are the PLAN's Marine Corps combined arms brigades. These brigades are not part of the group armies and are allocated as follows: in Northern Theatre Command, 1 brigade in Haiyang and 1 in Laoshan; in Eastern Theatre Command, 1 in Xinjiang and 1 in Jiayang; and in Southern Theatre Command, 2 in Zhanjiang. There is also an aviation brigade and a special forces brigade in Sanya. These brigades, as with the ground force amphibious brigades, are equipped with new infantry fighting vehicles, the ZBD-05, which are specialised for amphibious assault. See the separate briefing for structure of the Marine battalions. Not to be left out, the PLA Air Force has 6 airborne brigades. Again, these are not part of the group armies, but a strategic asset under direct CMC command. There is some discussion as to how these brigades are organised, whether it's the same organisation or specialised, but for the purpose of this briefing, I'll talk to the varieties. So they include standard infantry or paratroop brigades, an air assault brigade focused on heliborne assault, an air droppable wheeled IFV equipped brigade, and an air droppable brigade equipped with tracked infantry fighting vehicles. Here the ZBD-03, which weighs around 8 tonnes. There is also an aviation brigade and a special forces brigade. Of course, the PLA Air Force doesn't only provide paratroopers. Now, rather than giving base locations, instead I will provide approximate totals for the key aircraft in both the PLA Air Force and Navy Air Force as at the end of 2022. So for fighters, strict fighters and multi-role aircraft, fighter ground attack, J-20s around 200, J-16s 250, J-11s 350, Su-35s 24, Su-30s 97, J-10s around 550, and for the Navy, J-15s about 80. And strike aircraft, JH-7s around 260. Now the JH-7 can of course carry air-to-air missiles, but it really is primarily a strike aircraft. In terms of bombers, around 120 of the latest versions of the H-6, that's the J, K and N. Airborne early warning and control aircraft, 4 of the KJ-2000s, 14 of the very capable KJ-500s, and around 10 of the KJ-200s. And in terms of transport aircraft, around 32 of the Y-20s, 26 Ilyushin 76s, around 30 Y-9s, and 81 Y-8s. So new cutting edge capability in the J-20, which is designed for high-end conflict, and upgraded older systems including the H-6 that remain credible in the modern battle space. In summary, the combination of the broad-ranging 2016 PLA structural reforms, fewer but more focused theatre commands, fewer group armies, and with these group armies being based around brigade and not divisional structures, significant resource allocation to capabilities, quality through cutting-edge new technology such as the J-20, the Type 055, and new multiple launch rocket systems, but also quantity, upgrades to existing capabilities such as the H-6 bombers, destroyers, and upgraded armoured fighting vehicles, together with substantial investment in infrastructure, new facilities for SSN production and for carrier support in the Southern Theatre Command, have all resulted in a leaner, more joint, more focused and more capable PLA that appears to be better positioned to achieve its stated purpose. How effective the PLA might be in high-end conflict remains to be seen. That concludes today's briefing. Thank you for watching. Happy to take suggestions for future briefings from subscribers, so please subscribe, like and share. Until next time, Vale Aero.